Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So I had a request from a viewer about a topic, so I figured let's get into it. Let's talk about cults. The question was kind of geared towards why do people join cults? I think that's a good question. I've wondered the same thing myself. First, we have to kind of have a framework. So a cult to me is basically a tight-knit group of people. They could be large, but an isolated group run by a charismatic leader who has dogma and crazy ideas, ideology. The lives of the members are fairly controlled, heavy duty control within cults. They can control every aspect of your life. Some of them even hide you away. Some of these cults will hide you away. Look at Scientology. It's real weird. Of course, we're familiar with, the more movie cults, satanic cults. We hear about those every once in a while. They have a satanic cult here in Florida, in Central Florida, like a real one. They're not just metalheads or anything. They're creepy weirdos. You have the Branch Davidians, the Opus Dei. Those guys are weirdos also, real creepy. Out of the Vatican, Italy. They got Jim Jones, and I mean we've all heard of all this stuff. Charles Manson. But there's all kinds of other cult organizations that are a little bit more nuanced. They may not call themselves cults, or the members may not really admit that they're in a cult. Political cults can be this way. There's fitness cults, there's pop psychology, spirituality cults, there's all kinds of holistic medicine cults. It just goes on and on. Little cop cults. There's all kinds of cults. So why do people join? I think that the type of person that joins a cult is obviously, I think the first thing we all think of is somebody who's a sheep, a follower. And those types of people exist. There's certain, what do they talk about in South Park? There's gods and clods. There's leaders and followers. And some of that is by nature. We have to have team players. There are people that are just more gullible than others, just by nature. They're just naturally more gullible. Maybe they're just more naive. They don't really learn lessons. Who knows why? Some people are just easily manipulated, and that's where I think where it gets easy to recruit for cults, to easily manipulate people who are in a certain kind of weak mindset, lonely, looking for a group to join, looking for validation, attention, love, acceptance, looking just for friends, for something to belong to, for belonging. I think those are all kind of the obvious reasons. My experience with cults is limited, so I'm not an expert in this. But I've been around gangs, and gangs are like cults. Not all, but some of them very much are. Or they're very centered around a leader, a charismatic leader who can almost have godlike status depending on the crew. They can rule your life. My dad and his group tried to rule my life. They were recruiting me. I never joined my dad's crew, but they put a lot of pressure on me. It may have happened as I got older. He got murdered when I was about 20 years old. So when he got murdered, I was done with his guys. I was done with his whole scene. Unfortunately, I wasn't done with gangs, though. I just fell into the arms of other gangs, one after another after another. My dad's gang tried to recruit me, and they would try to tell me everything about the rules, what's supposed to go down, how you're supposed to be, who you can hang out with, who you can't hang out with. Pretty controlling stuff. And my dad used to beat this stuff into me, not physically, but just repetitively talk about this stuff all day, every day. From the time I was like 16 or 17, up until he died, up until I was about 20. It was all he talked about, was the rules and trying to prepare me so I knew everything. And he was dead set on that, and it was all about control, and that's what I didn't like about it. It was heavy duty control, and I was just couldn't understand who could tolerate this type of shit. I'm a free man. I got to be able to do what I want to do. I've hung out with a lot of other gangs, and they were all kind of the same. A charismatic leader, a boss, heavy duty control, heavy duty punishment and enforcement of the rules. When I hung out with the Jamaicans, the Jamaican posse guys, they enforce their rules on their own, really hardcore, to the death. And the Mexicans do too. I've seen the Mexicans kill their own, and it's shocking. Brotherhood and all that kind of stuff. It's like, whoa, you just killed that guy. That's one of us, right? I mean, geez. Cults can be pretty controlling like that. I really think that with the gangs, that type of cult, it's not too much different than possibly the religious cults as far as how they recruit and who they look for. It may not be so much as the weakling. The gangs may not be looking for some weakling, but they look for weakness and victimhood. And, you could be a tough guy and still be easy to manipulate. You could still be a victim. You can still be a weakling, so to speak. Even if you're a big, strong, tough-looking guy like Debo, that type of person can still be recruited, and still be and then recruited into something that's larger than them, and they get caught up. And that's what that term means. They get caught up in shit that they didn't really even knew existed, that they can't control. They get put into a machine. They're just a little cog in a machine, but they get put into a machine that's moving way faster than they can handle. And I know what that's like. And they always recruit the same type of weak-minded, lonely, broken people. People who've had a hard life, come from broken families. You rarely see somebody who comes from an amazing family who joins a gang. Or a cult, for that matter. There's either one. I had a funny experience with some cult shit in Santa Cruz. And Santa Cruz has a lot of cult activity. I don't know why, but it's like a statistic. Out of all the places in America, Santa Cruz has more cult activity than any place else. Particularly witches, witchcraft, little witch cults, witch covens, and Satanists, Satan worshipers. And they have guy witches too. You meet dudes, hippie dudes particularly, and they are into Wicca, and they're like male witches, which I didn't understand. Why aren't you a wizard? I guess there's a difference between a wizard and a male witch, but whatever. It's all just goofball shit. But I was driving in the mountains one day. It was actually at night, coming back from my buddy's house. He had a place up there in the mountains, beautiful, up in the redwoods. I'd bring my dog up there. I had this big husky. The dog would just run with his dog in the woods. They'd have a great time. We'd shoot our guns in the woods. It's fun up there. And I'd drive back down to the flats, little gangland, barrio, after partying with my buddy, and do that drive often. And sometimes it'd be foggy. I'm winding down the mountain, this road called Empire Grade. And I'm winding down Empire Grade, and right in front of me, a fucking naked chick, pretty cute, covered in like ash. She's all white and like dark markings like on her, like tribal looking. Fucking eyes were wigged out, butt naked. And a dude, skinny dude, little dreadlock, motherfucker, covered in the same kind of ash and painted up the same way. They jump out into the front of my vehicle. I go screeching to a halt. And they're like in the middle of the road looking like that. And then they just run off into the woods. And I was just like, oh my God, what the fuck? They're just probably some cult members. Some witch coven. My dad had an experience with some cults. So I don't have a lot of cult stories, but my dad had an experience with Charles Manson guys. The Charles Manson family. With Charlie Manson and his little family of perverts. Losers. They were all rejects, all of them. All losers, rejects. Even the hippies didn't like them. They were weirdos. People didn't like them. They were at a concert selling heroin, and that was one of Charles Manson's and the Manson family's thing, is to sell bad dope. Not intentionally just to fuck people over and get them to overdose, although that's what people do when they inject bad dope. But they were just con artists and scammers trying to get money. The Hells Angels didn't care if Manson and his little crew were going to sell dope at their fucking concert, but why you got to sell bad dope and people die off that shit? So they found out that he was pushing this stuff, and they went and confronted him and beat him up, knocked his teeth out, beat up a couple of his members, knocked their teeth out also, and shoot him on. And that was the end of Manson. You know, not the end of him, but that was the end of him for that day. Really quickly, just to end this off, this video's not too long, I'm talking about cults. It seems pretty easy to me to avoid cults and to avoid manipulation, because that's what these cult leaders are. They're just manipulators, shysters, con artists. You know, you just got to question everything. Be very inquisitive. Be skeptical of everything. Don't ever take people's words for anything. I don't care what kind of authority they are. I don't care if it's God that comes down in front of you and tells you shit. You just be like, well, let me Google that for a second there. Look everything up. Think about everything. Run it by your friends. Research everything. Never let yourself follow the crowd. Break beyond that groupthink. You know, stick to truth. It's easy. Just stick to truth. Live truthfully and seek truth. And you can avoid dogma, people's ramblings. You can just walk right around that shit. No thanks. I won't take what you're serving. The bullshit that you're trying to feed me. And the last really best way for the broken people, because not everybody's trying to be recruited by Jim Jones. Some people are being recruited by gangs. And if you're broken out there, maybe you have a kid that you want to help them avoid gangs, or a younger brother, or you yourself, you need to work on self-love. You need to have your own form of self-mastery, mind, body, and soul every single day, relentlessly. No days off, 7 days a week. Work out, pray, eat well, study every day. Make that a lifestyle. Try to heal yourself when you find your weaknesses. Dive into that shit. Don't run from it. Don't pacify it. Don't chase pleasure and run from it. Make yourself as strong as possible. You learn true warriorship. Being in a gang isn't being a warrior. That's being a weakling. Self-mastery is warriorship. This video is getting too long. I just wanted to talk about a topic for one of our regular listeners, watchers. If you have a topic you want me to talk about, put it in the comments below. Thanks.